So today we're going to be, as if you did not see this coming. So we've been talking about African Americans who went from being slaves to who are now freedmen, and we talked about some of the challenges with having them becoming part of society and the challenges they're going to face as far as, having their own homes, shelter, medical care, jobs, and money, and all of these other things. And what we're going to start to see is that, they're going to get locked into this cycle of poverty.
And part of those challenges, too, are also the challenges that the former plantation owners are going to face.
Right.
Of now having to find labor for their plantation.
Right.
They've relied on free labor for centuries. And the system that they're going to develop in many ways will shadow the previous.
Now, we're going to interrupt that program to just talk about two vocabulary words that are almost no way relevant.
None whatsoever.
Because we've been doing this for how long? And it's like, how do you integrate that? I just make it a do now.
Yeah,
you
so do I.
It,
so
you
do
define
I.
it, you talk about the word, and then you move on.
And you look at a picture. It's pretty much it.
So our first word is a scallywag. This was supposed to be an insult, folks.
Yeah.
An insult. Out of all the great words you could use out there for an insult, they came up with a scallywag.
Yeah, a scallywag was basically any Southerner who was opposed to secession. Who, if you were a Southerner and you supported the Republican Party, you were a scallywag.
All of the great expletives you have access to.
I know.
You come up with scallywag.
Scallywag. That's you. If you basically, it was like you were an Uncle Tom.
Right. Yeah.
You supported.
You were a sellout.
Yeah, you're a sellout.
If you were a kiss up to a teacher, brown noser, whatever.
Yeah.
Who the heck wants to talk about that?
The other one is another awesome phrase. Carpetbagger.
But you will hear this in your life, because we have as well.
Yeah. Carpetbagger is referred to any Northerner who basically goes to the South to profit off of the South's misery. If I'm a carpenter, that would be a great person to go to the South.
If I'm a teacher,
sure. I can help rebuild homes.
I can start an entirely new business, an entirely new life there.
Yep. So if you were profiting off of the South's misery and you were a Northerner who moved to the South, you were a carpetbagger.
And of course, that word has evolved to probably anybody who's gone to another state, I guess, to profit off of, however, politically, usually.
People who profit off of misery becomes known as a carpetbagger.
Now, we should probably bring up the carpetbag.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen one of these live.
Me neither.
So, a carpetbag, apparently you carried carpets in a carpetbag. I bet you didn't see that coming. So now what happened was that these people were in such a rush to get down there that they threw all of their personal belongings into a carpetbag and rushed down there. So that's what this political cartoon is addressing here.
This next one too, this is the Solid South is almost holding up the carpetbag and bayonet rule, because let's not forget, we're under martial law. Right. The South is under martial law. This dude is coming down here from the North. Maybe he's selling guns to the Union Army. Who knows? But the Northerners are now profiting off of the Southerners.
I am so glad I am not alone in what do I do with these two things?
No.
When they sit down, they'll have to define it. We'll talk about it, and then I'll find a clever way to move on.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, the thing that's going to really require your attention right now.
Yeah, let's just skip that one for a second. Go ahead.
What do you want to do?
Go ahead.
One more?
Where is it?
Well, those are questions.
So this is the one.
Okay, you want to start with this?
I think we should start with this.
Perfect.
So the question I always ask my students is, what do you see here? And every single hand goes up, and they go, slaves picking cotton in a cotton field.
That's great.
And I go, you are 100% wrong! Because this is actually a photograph, if we click ahead, of a Georgia plantation in 1898, 33 years after the abolition of slavery. And then they're like, whoa, Mr. Kogan, what the heck is going on here? Because that clearly looks like a bunch of slaves working on a cotton plantation. And I said, you're absolutely right.
And they're free, and this guy does not look happy.
Yeah. That's exactly what it looks like, because that's exactly the way the Southerners wanted to look like. These are not slaves. These are actually a group of freedmen known as sharecroppers. And this system of sharecropping, we can kind of go back to that chart now.
This works so much better if we have this to go to and we have a chalkboard to write on.
Yes,
I don't know about you,
but
maybe we read through it and then go step by step. Is that a good approach there?
Yeah, we can almost do like a little role play.
Oh, role play.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how this goes. All right, so by the time sharecroppers had shared their crops and paid their debts, They rarely had any money left. The sharecropper became tied to one plantation, having to work until debts were paid. Maybe this should be some vocabulary we can address here. The first one, which hopefully should be easy, is sharecroppers. People who share crops with other people. We'll expand on that in a moment. Debt, if you haven't heard of it before you came to today, debt is when you're unable to pay what you owe. Plantation, hopefully at this point, is a huge farm. Huge farm. Should we get into sharecroppers a little bit more?
No.
Maybe? No? Okay. So here's what's going to happen. And a lot of African Americans and poor whites became sharecroppers. So for number one here, we're going to look at how this cycle, because again, when we're talking about a cycle, round and round it goes. So a sharecropper receives land and seed. In exchange, he promises landowner half of the crop.
Okay, so again, let's remember, they need a job. Slavery's over. They need to find work where they can get paid. Said plantation owner who has lost their slaves needs people to work on his plantation. So the powers that be in the South sat down together, they put their heads together, their thinking caps on, and they're like, let's come up with something that can keep us accustomed.
Now you're a plantation owner.
Accustomed to the life that we've been living.
No, you're a plantation owner. I'm a freedman at this point. What are my job qualifications? Chances are I was probably working on a plantation picking cotton. There are a lot of other people like me out there, without a doubt. So naturally, what do I need? If you looked at our Freedmen's Bureau presentation, what am I going to need? Healthcare, shelter, money, all of these other things. Who's going to possibly provide me with that money for an exchange of a service like working? A plantation owner.
So here's like stage one of our little role play.
Right.
I'll be the plantation owner.
Sure.
Mr. Heeg can be my former slave,
Right.
now a freedman. So, Mr. Heeg, look, I know you need a job. Here,
Yes,
look,
I do.
I'm going to give you a piece of my land.
Perfect.
Sound good? I'm going to give you the seeds that you need
That's really nice
to
of you.
plant in that ground.
That's really
but
nice of you.
in return, you get to keep half of what you grow.
Okay.
You have to give half of what you grow to me. Sound good?
I wish you could see what finger I'm pointing at you in my pocket right now. I don't know if that
I can
seems
walk
like
away.
Right, okay, but
All right, sounds good.
All right, good.
Done.
I've got no choice.
Yeah.
I really
So
don't have
I'm
a choice.
giving him a small piece of my land that is his. It's his to farm. And he's going to give me half of the crop that he grows. Stage one. Step two.
That's just stage one.
Yeah.
So right away you're going, wow, that's
Oh, and don't
not good.
forget, this is all like written in a contract,
Yes.
that I'll make him sign. A contract that he probably can't read.
Exactly. So two, I'm a sharecropper. I'm gonna buy food and clothing on credit from landowner stores.
Oh, so Mr. Heeg, it seems like these clothes are miserable.
They are.
You don't have clothes. You don't
Nope.
have food. You don't have tools.
Uh-uh.
I've got all this. Look at this. Look
Do
at all
you?
everything I've got.
Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Do you have any money?
No.
All right. I will let you buy it on credit.
Ah.
Buying on credit basically means you could buy it now and you pay for it later with interest.
We'll revisit that buy now, pay later.
So let's just make the easy math. He's gonna buy all this stuff from me for $1,000 of credit. We'll keep the math nice and simple. So I give him everything he needs, his tools, his clothes, his food, for $1,000 of credit.
So, before we go to 3, and your mind is completely blown here. So far, he's given me land, he's given me seed, I've got food, I've got clothing. I owe him like whatever he's providing for me so far. There's 6 steps here, we go on to 3, and I'm already frazzled. Step 3, sharecropper plants and harvests the crop.
What am I doing?
Nothing.
No.
Or you're planting or harvesting your crop.
Possibly, but if I have a huge plantation and I've given him a small piece of land,
Right.
what else do you think I'm doing? I'm giving a small piece of land to
Right,
this
exactly,
former slave,
exactly,
and this freedman, and this freedman, and that
exactly,
freedman, and this
exactly,
freedman.
exactly.
I'm sitting back sipping lemonade on my porch.
Like if you're a what would we call you probably today? You're probably one of those dirtbag homeowners that's gonna like have like rent out like a little bit to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, like a tenement.
Yeah, tenement. Okay, there we go. So he's not doing much. I'm gonna plant and harvest my crop. So 4, sharecropper is gonna give the landowner a crop to sell. Sharecropper is gonna get half of the earnings minus his debt for the year.
Okay, now this is where we really need the chalkboard.
Yes.
Because what this chart is leaving out is what the owner's responsibility became. Now, he doesn't have any connections to sell his crop.
No.
So part of the agreement is that I'm going to sell his half of the crop for him. Well,
You have a customer base,
Yes.
an established one.
so what I did, what the southern plantation owners did, I took, let's just say it's cotton, because that's the easy crop. I took my half of the crop and I sold it right away. And I got that money for myself right away. It's called setting the market. It's like a business term. All of the other plantation owners around me are selling their half of their cotton crop, getting the highest possible price that they can get for that crop. Whole theory of supply and demand. I sit on his cotton for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because what's happening to the demand for cotton among the factories in the north, that demand for cotton is going down. When the demand goes down, what happens to the price? Nope.
Demand went down?
Demand goes
I'm
down, the
sorry.
price goes down. Right.
We've been at
when
this
the
for a
demand goes down, people, I don't need cotton. All right, so the price of that cotton is going down. I took my half of the crop. I sold that half of the crop for $5,000. Let's just say I'm making up these numbers. I have no idea what the real prices were. I took his half of the crop because the demand has gone down so much. I sell his half of the crop for $900. Here's your $900, Mr. Egan. Oh, remember step 2? You owe me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take that $900. So at the end of the year, what has now happened? Step 5.
Oh, step 5. So now when settling up, landowner says that sharecropper owes more than he has earned. So how do we solve this scenario?
So you still owe me $100.
So now I'm going to have to do the same thing all over
But look,
again.
look.
Yeah.
If you just work a little bit harder next year,
Cheese and rice.
if you
gotta
work
be kidding me.
just a little bit harder next year, or maybe if you give me a little bit more of your share of the crop,
So now
I
gotta
just
promise
maybe,
him a greater share of next year's crop.
maybe you'll be out of debt.
So now there's certain things that come into this, because now I have to hope that there's not a drought, that the weather conditions are very favorable. There are quite a few things that could possibly go wrong.
And here is the most important part. That's all true.
Yep.
Drought, disease, there's
Yeah.
so many variables. I'm the biggest variable because I manipulate the price of his cotton.
Yes, you do.
I don't care how much I care how much money my cotton gets me paid.
Yeah, he does.
I don't care how much his gets him paid.
True story.
So I'm going to make sure in that manipulation of the numbers, he's going to get the lowest possible bid for his cotton. Why? Because it's going to keep him indebted to me. And that next year, he's going to have to see, he'll have no choice. Because he owes me now money, he's indebted to me. He cannot leave my plantation until those debts are paid.
I owe, it's off to work I go.
Essentially, what have the southern plantations owners created?
Cycle of poverty, pretty much.
Slavery 2.0.
Yeah,
Kind
exactly.
of what I call it. This is they're free. They're free men who can go and vote and everything, but they're not economically
But I mean,
free.
look at this too. I mean, we started off here, and you probably guessed that this was slavery still in existence. And don't lie, you did. And really, they're free. And the thing is that when you're looking at that, why is that such a big deal? Because the thing is that this just gets passed on from generation to generation.
Sharecropping doesn't end until World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
World War II is when sharecropping will finally die out. Is this illegal? Is what the southern plantation owners are doing is illegal? No, there's nothing illegal about this.
It's not. There's
nothing illegal. Is it immoral?
Oh, of course.
100%. I'm now manipulating Mr. Heeg because one, I'm educated. He's not, thanks to years of slavery, and it was illegal for him to receive an education. And I'm just manipulating him. I'm manipulating the numbers. I'm manipulating what's going to happen. And I'm promising Mr. Heeg, if you work just a little bit harder next year, maybe, just maybe, you'll get yourself out of debt and you can buy that little home you've been
This is
looking
so immoral that it did not ever happen again. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. This happened, we may come back to this happened in coal mining communities.
Yep.
Does this happen today? I mean, I've seen evidence of it. Maybe to not this extreme. Now, mind you, I live in a farming community that relies on a lot of migrant farmer workers. You know, there are varying degrees of this that have existed through the course of time. And the thing is that when you look here, you know, this guy is going to want his children to have much more than what he did. However, you know, sometimes they get caught up in that cycle. I'm sure you probably heard the expression where somebody is like born on second base or third base. You know, if you've ever heard that expression, you hear that expression where somebody was born on third base, they were born with more privilege compared to the rest of the population.
Yeah.
You know, if you've ever heard that expression that like this person was born on third base and you're thinking about baseball going around until you score, if you're born on third base, it was much, much easier for you compared to other people.
If we're going with that baseball analogy,
Yeah.
then it's almost like they're born in the
In the-
bottom of the ninth.
I was just gonna
with
say.
2 outs,
Yes.
an 0-2 count, and they're losing by 20 runs.
Right, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're born losing at that point, which is
And it's
really unfair.
it's awful. It angers me,
Yes.
you know, because it's like the Southern plantation owners were just reinstituting slavery. That's
Right.
really all sharecropping was slavery without the title.
Right.
And without the beatings, because it would have been illegal for them to have beaten
So
them.
now, if keeping score at home, okay, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, yeah, he's now free. He has the right to vote. He's a citizen of the United States. You have that whole right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He's free. Does this look happy to you? No, because then you also have to deal with racism, the segregation that we'll get to. We probably brought up the KKK already.
Voting right restrictions.
Voting right restrictions.
And now sharecropping.
Yeah, exactly. Just when he's taking like maybe one step forward, it also seems it's like 2 steps back. Is that one way or no?
No, it's a great analogy.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's almost like, you know, when you dig a hole at the beach,
Yes.
and like you dig in that sand, and every swipe you take, it's like 3 more inches of sand
Yes.
pile in on top of them.
Yes.
It's like that. It's just.
Okay, we are off to the beach.